Supervisor made a complaint about me to my scholarship institution. I am not op. Op is you, anxious in the lab. This was posted with their permission. Do not contact or message OOP. As a disclaimer, I was also posted a comment in the update thread when it was posted. TW. Possible racism, discrimination, bullying. Less than. Supervisor made a complaint about me to my scholarship institution December 13, 2022. I've started my doctoral project in October. For 2 months I've learned the methods that I could use during my project. Then I proceed to do my own experiments mid-November. The thing is I need to wait for more samples from my supervisor. Meanwhile I go to lab, do some things, then leave. In the lab, supervisor and technician told usually the students that we are responsible of our schedule and we could come whenever we wanted to during the day. I've been going to lab around afternoon and I assumed that this wasn't a problem till I have gotten an email from a person in the uni who's responsible of the scholarship holders of an institution. Email included that my supervisor wasn't satisfied with my cooperation and asked me to explain why I don't go to lab even though it's necessary for my doctoral project and my scholarships is connected to this cooperation. The problem is my supervisor never mentioned this to me before. I had no idea that she wasn't satisfied with my work. Her going directly to my scholarship institution made me very upset because I am an international student and my income is just my scholarship, and without that I would have to go back to my country. I feel like she should have given me a warning first. Look, you have to come every day between those hours. I sent the person that sent me the email and also my supervisor an email explaining that it has been a misunderstanding. I thought lab hours were flexible and I didn't know there were strict hours. It's been never clarified to me before. I was always there when I needed to work with technician or something or had a meeting. Sometimes I ask questions to my supervisor if it's okay to do this experiment. She is like, you don't have to ask me. You have to do your own plan. And sometimes she says no, don't start yet. She is not very clear about what she wants from me. I just want to get done with my project and leave the lab for good tbh. Is there anything I should do? This has been my first time in academia, so I am kinda lost what to do. I just don't want to get her on bad side so early on my project even though it was a misunderstanding. I also don't want to her a bad impression that I don't come to lab, etc. This just caused extreme amount of anxiety and overthinking that I damaged the relationship between us. Also from my side, complaining about me to institution that gives me money, basically my financial security, is not nice at all. Some additional comments from Op. Thanks for your feedback. You might be right about my progress, but she told me to wait a bit till she gives me more samples. So I thought that was what I should do. She's a very hands-off as a supervisor, but the thing is I have never had lab experience before and she knew about it. I need a bit more of guidance, unfortunately. I am trying to find relevant information for my project and methods, but it's really hard sometimes. Because everyone is doing everything differently. Anyways, I would be fine if she directly told me about it. Not to institution I get my scholarship from, which is around 1,200 euros. Does it supposed to make me feel more motivated? Thanks for your detailed answer. The thing is sometimes I ask her what I should do next since at the moment I don't have anything to do. She is like, don't ask me. This is your project. But sometimes she tells me to do something and I'm kind of frustrated about it. So I hesitate to ask her questions in that sense general. And we previously talked that the order I am going to do my experiments. So I thought meanwhile I could do some literature viewing and stuff also from home. Yeah, she's aware that I am waiting for the samples. The point is she doesn't know how much time I spend at the LUAB literally. She comes usually mornings, stays there for a few hours. The technician leaves around 1:21 p.m. Her not seeing me in the mornings probably caused a problem. But if we wanted to talk to her, we usually make an appointment or talk beforehand. It's just very stupid misunderstanding that ended with me getting to the scholarship institution, which also doesn't give good impression about me. I literally left my country because of this scholarship and opportunity. Sorry for the rant. Currently there are 2 other students in the lab. One has just started. The other student first got insignificant results. Then he found that the people he had a collaboration with forgot to submit ethical permission, so ATM he has nothing to do. One of the old students I talked to also had problems with the lab, but he managed to finish the experimental side of the project. Update in comments same day. Update. I sent her an email explaining myself and asking for an appointment face-to-face. She replied that she told me this before, that I need to be in the lab daily for 8 hours, and that's why I get paid from my scholarship institution, which is completely independent organization, but anyways, and completely ignored my request to talk face-to-face. My scholarship is around 1.2k euros, by the way. I am not even getting the minimum wage, lol. I really don't recall her telling me about the at least 8 hours, but sure. Update March 30th, 2023. I should have listened to you guys. I should have left the moment I posted this on Reddit, because things did not get better. In fact, they got worse, but now they are so much better. I worked my ass off through Christmas till end of February, but my experiments did not give satisfying results according to my supervisor. We never had a discussion about my results until February. She sends me an email about a meeting for my work performance. This was the first meeting request in 45 months. I go there next day. She tells me, you don't fit in the lab. You should have been an expert by now. Please look for another lab and tell your scholarship institution that you want to change your lab. She was rarely in the lab. 1 day per week for an hour. And all she heard about me and my progression was from our technician. The fact that she told me, you lived in, insert a bit undeveloped country name here, and I lived most of my life in, insert first world country here. Maybe that is why we have so many different expectations. Was so weird and irrelevant. That was not the first discriminating thing she said. She also went on with, if I can't publish what you do, the university stops giving me money. Then you would end up wasting things in the lab for nothing, even though in my doctoral agreement, my thesis was supposed to be a monograph. There was also another option for a publication thesis, which you have to publish to get the title. And she never told me it was a must. I was caught off guard, because I started to think, what if I can't find another lab? What if they cut my scholarship? I went home, cried like a baby for a few days. Then started to look for another lab, and I found such a great supervisor with a project that fits me. It's been almost 1.5 months in my lab and I could not be happier. Also, apparently technician and my old pie were gossiping about me and the students to the other labs. I even wrote 3 pages of a complaint letter to my scholarship institution if something goes wrong. It was such a mentally draining period of my life, working in that lab. Now I realize it all. Every morning I woke up with anxiety and a tight feeling on my chest. It was horrible. P.S. 1 month after me leaving, some other student texted me because he quit as well. Yesterday I had another student texting me, hey, how did you find your new lab? She was thinking of leaving, too. I guess this speaks for itself. My honest advice to people who are thinking of leaving for reasons such as toxic environments, absent PIs. Please do it. There are so many good labs that will want to hire you. I did not believe that, but here I am now. I know everyone's circumstances are different, but please don't feel stuck. And thank you for everyone's kind advice from my old post, even though I did not listen at that time. Additional comments. Yeah, it was not the first discriminating thing she told me. When I posted the first post in Reddit, we had a talk afterwards. When she was talking about my performance back then, she first said, "Oh, maybe it's the language barriers. We speak some other language. Not English, but I did not have problem with it at all. Maybe it's cultural differences. You know, in this country parents show kids once how to do stuff. They don't push them. Kids become independent. What I find funny is that she is also an immigrant like me. She has been here just much longer than I have been. Anyways, I wrote down about everything I had in that lab." OP's note. I'm sharing this in part because I hope it can help others see the forms of discrimination they face too, and that standing up can help. Academia can be pretty damn toxic, and standing up as graduate students and doctoral workers can be incredibly hard due to the massive structural and power imbalances. I'm glad OOP did, and that it seems to have worked out. Flared as concluded because it seems to be, and I would hope that this is something they can put behind them. She also went on with, "If I can't publish what you do, the university stops giving me money. Then you would end up wasting things in the lab for nothing." P.S. 1 month after me leaving, some other student texted me because he quit as well. Yesterday I had another student texting me, "Hey, how did you find your new lab?" She was thinking of leaving, too. I guess this speaks for itself. I wonder how that's working out for her. Just because someone isn't fluent in your language doesn't make them an idiot. They might communicate brilliantly in their native tongue. Language barriers are solvable, and you can do some great work with someone once you find a way to communicate effectively. The old supervisor didn't care enough to try to solve that problem. Believing that the problem can't be solved is a big sign of bigotry. This makes me happy to see. My first grad school lab rotation almost made me drop out of the program tbh. I was put with a postdoc whose personality consisted of complaining about everything and anything. About his life, the lab, being in academia, science. Mind you, this was my first experience in grad school. He also made me feel like an idiot whenever I asked a simple question or made a mistake. The dude was just an asshole through and through. The Pi met with me before I joined the program and was spouting off all the good things his lab does and what projects I'll be directly helping with. Turns out his lab was only the pessimist, who really didn't do too much. Not to mention, after the initial meeting I never saw the Pi until the end of the semester when he showed up to ask the postdoc something and he straight up got my name wrong. I was on the verge of dropping out. Thank God my next lab was the polar opposite. I had a great Pi and all my lab mates became my closest friends. I now work in industry and love my job. Glad this guy saw the light at the end of the tunnel too. I'm so glad OOP got out of that toxic lab. Having worked with a toxic supervisor in the past, and now with one who is a great fit, it can be what makes or breaks your PhD. Not surprised by this at all. The place I experienced the most racism was in grad school. The internet told me that uneducated people are the racists, but high academia is an absolute cell pool of close-minded bigots. My honest advice to people who are thinking of leaving for reasons such as toxic environments, absent PIs, please do it. There are so many good labs that will want to hire you. I did not believe that, but here I am now. I know everyone's circumstances are different, but please don't feel stuck. Had the same thing going on for 3 years. It was the worst period of my life. I'm glad they were able to transition to another work group. Academia can be hellish and most people are egocentric assholes. An extra piece of advice. Create a paper trail. If you have a meeting and agree on something, send an email with, "As per our discussion," and write what you agreed to do. If it was specific working times, Check-in meetings, contacts, etc. Document everything. This helps later on if you want to escalate situations to heads of department. Same thing with racist comments. Ask around and collate them. These people stay in power positions for too long and are never held accountable because there is usually no documentation against them. If you're worried about funding being pulled, wouldn't you work more than an hour a week? I'd put my money on her misappropriating funds and trying to ride it out as long as she can. As someone who left their first lab because of a toxic and gaslighting mentor, I am so proud of you. Not a fun or easy switch when you're just trying to get your damn dissertation done, but so much better for quality of life. Anyone being bullied in academia right now, hang in there. Seek other avenues of help. You deserve better. I die on the inside every time people are like, report race, sex, classism and discrimination? Lol. Why would I do that? Silly. And then come back with, so things went terribly wrong and the person who I should have reported got no repercussions and can run around ruining more lives. I can't be racist, I was an immigrant too, says the racist immigrant. This is such a better turnout than I had hoped for. I've seen this happen over and over with my research fellows. The amount of toxicity from miffed PIs with God complexes is astounding. Makes me so happy to be a bottom feeder just laughing at the absurdity of it all. I'm super duper stupid. Can someone dumb this down for me? I don't understand the labs and supervisors and whatnot. In a difficult situation with supervisor? Document everything, either via email or with someone else that can be your witness. My boyfriend was once enrolled in lab class that the professor illegally fused with the one earlier, and his classmates were notified the fist day, which he wasn't able to go to. So he would go there and after half an hour waiting go to the professor's room that he shared with another professor and check in with that second professor. That was invaluable to covering my boyfriend's ass and bringing to light that the professor was being paid for 2 classes and only giving 1. This is why I think after so many people leaving or after a certain amount of complaints, they should send a new intern, who is actually an undercover investigator from an external source. Announced investigations always give them a chance to prepare and act like they're a saint or victim. But of course, this is just wishful thinking as it would likely be abused as well. Anyone else confused by this being a doctoral student's first go in academia? Also, I can't tell if OP is doing her own research project or her lab boss's project, assuming it is a language thing. But it seems confusing to go from OP is doing her own project without guidance to OP's supervisor is telling exactly what to be done. Anyone with academic lab experience care to explain? Man, academia is rough. My master's degree burned me out so badly. I gave up altogether. My professor wanted me to finish my degree 8 months before the necessary, and she was known to be a rusher. I was able to finish my master in time and it went great. I, however, can't write a scientific article to save my life, and it was my favorite thing to do when I was in grad school. Academia is a minefield of toxic people, political games and individuals who want to be God kings. It's like any other institution in the world with a highly competitive culture. I've personally seen the toxicity through decades of dealing with administration while working in a university library. The levels of ridiculous grudges and petty power wars makes me want to warn everyone considering dedicating themselves to the field of higher education. As for the discrimination, I fully believe that snap judgments of competence, or lack of, are a plague in academic circles as some of the most stunted people worm their way into positions of power. joined my current lab and was immediately thrown to an actual, literal, remote island to conduct research alone for 8 months before the pandemic. My PI has done this to multiple students. Because of this, the average graduation time for our lab is 45 years for a master's degree. He's nice and all, but I would have truly appreciated more support since I only had experience with land field work methods, and marine field work was an entirely new field to me. Reading this made me endlessly thankful that I had a good MA program.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Heracast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.